Welcome to Freedom News Basket. It's a 45-minute news presentation about happenings in Liberia and elsewhere. Today's Tuesday is the 22 day or the 22nd day of February 2022. I'm ready to anchor in this edition of the news program. In the top development this evening, good news for inmates at the Monrovia Central Prison as President George Weah is expected to pardon 500 prisoners, suspends 2-year jail sentence of Lofa County Senator-elect Brandon Samka. Supreme Court rules in favor of Liberian Senate in a legal proceeding between the two Accords bodies. The lady who attempted selling her 1-year-old baby for $25 finally freed through it bargaining. And elsewhere from Liberia to Ukraine have urged the national as fear grows of Next. Next is the bulletin of
Good evening, Woody, and of course to our audience. President George Weah has ordered the suspension of the 2-year prison sentence imposed on Lofa County Senator-elect Brani Samukai. The Liberian leader also issued a proclamation of clemency ordering the Ministry of Justice to pardon 500 inmates where applicable. Those expected to be pardoned include those who committed misdemeanors and capital offenses, while rapists and armed robbers are not included. Minister of State for Presidential Affairs Nathaniel Mwangil speaking on behalf of President George Weah following the proclamation Tuesday said under Article 59 of the 1986 Constitution, President Weah has the power and authority to grant reprieve reprieve, suspend funds, sentences, and pardon anyone convicted and sentenced for a crime. Minister Magil added that in line with the provision, the former defense minister will work with the Ministry of Justice to enter a stipulation for the full settlement of the AFL, that's the Armed Forces of Liberia money. The Minister of State for Presidential Affairs further that the Liberian leader has also directed the Minister of Finance and Development Planning to make full payment of the outstanding balance of the AFL money while Samukai goes through the stipulation payment agreement. He said, as Liberians joyously celebrate 200 years of existence as a country and people, President Weah has further directed the Minister of Justice and Attorney General to submit to his office a list of persons to be pardoned during these festive celebrations. The president has also called on Liberians to reconcile their differences and transform Liberia into a haven of peace. The Supreme Court of Liberia has ruled in favor of the Liberian Senate in a case between that august body and the House of Representatives seeking to provide clarity on Article 34DR of the 1986 Constitution for ratification of the Bao Chico Mineral Development Agreement. It can be recalled that the Liberian Senate, upon the passage of the Bao Chico Concession Agreement Bill sent to the legislature by President George Weah for ratification, was forwarded to the House of Representatives for concurrence, an action the lower house said was illegal. According to the House of Representatives, the Senate is not charged with the constitutional duty to pass on revenue bills, citing Article 34DI of the Liberian Constitution as their reliance. Article 34DI of the Liberian Constitution states that all revenue bills, whether subsidies, charges, inputs, and other financial bills, shall originate in the House of Representatives, but the Senate may propose or concord with amendments as on order. But the Supreme Court, in its ruling read by the Secretary of the Senate, Namola Singh, Tuesday, indicated that said bill is a financial bill and not a revenue bill as being contested by members of the House of Representatives. the Senate plenary took the House of Representatives to the Supreme Court for the wrongful interpretation of Article 34DI of the 1986 Constitution. The Bao-Chico Agreement is for the extraction of iron ore to be operated under a Class A mining license for an initial term of 25 years in Wapolo County within the area specified on the license, which covered a total area of 87.4 kilometers within Wapolo County. Meanwhile, following the full reading of the Supreme Court's ruling in the case, President pro tempore Albert Sheard, in consultation with members of the Senate, set up a 7-man special committee to meet with the House of Representatives Grand Judah and Geneto copy of Grand Bassa counties respectively. The lady who attempted but was announced on Tuesday at Criminal Code A at the Temple of Justice. Criminal Code 8 ruled that defendant Naji Bayu is guilty of human trafficking with a 1 year suspended sentence. The child was taken away from her and presented to the gender ministry, while the female defendant's 1 year suspension sentence female defendant will serve her remaining 6 months through counseling at any recognized social institution, that's counseling institution in the country. In September this year, the government drew up, thus last year, the government drew up an indictment against defendant Najib Bayu when she made an engagement with the proprietress of the Sarah Gonlewan drugstore situated in Gate Town, Old Road. An application seeking to dismiss the criminal indictment against the management of GT Bank Liberia Limited has been filed before Criminal Court C. Bank officials have since pleaded not guilty to their indictment, hereby joining issue with the state consistent with Chapter 25, Section 25.5 of the Criminal Procedure Law. The bank's legal team, led by Councilor Awad Varka, request to the court, among other things, claimed the indictment against his client is based upon the contractual relationship between Kalando Petroleum Company and the bank. Councilor Varkan said that the Supreme Court has held that the general remedy of general depositor to recover the balance of general deposits which the private prosecutor is claiming over the 900,000 United States dollars is through law. The bank's lawyer, according to our correspondent, further noted that the courts lack jurisdiction to hear and determine issues arising out of a general deposit contract. But Councilor Bobby Livingstone said that the bank's lawyer's application to the court is weak and premature, claiming it is an attempt by the defendants to grossly disrespect the court's February 21 order by not appearing in court for litigation. Councilor Livingstone maintained that such requests from the defendant's lawyer should not be entertained by the defendant in the absence of complying fully with the order of the court. Despite both lawyers' account, the court reserved ruling for Wednesday, February 23, 2022 at the Temple of Justice. Our judicial correspondent also said the lawyer's new application comes barely days when the management of GT Bank Liberia Guarantee Trust Bank has finally responded to their criminal indictment with a plea of not guilty over an allegation of 900,000 United States dollars theft. Senate Pro Tem Albert Chia has refuted speculations that the decision to declare Lofa County senatorial seat was a decision by him as an individual. According to Pro Tem Chie, prior to the decision to declare the Lofa County seat vacant, there were a series of consultations with over 22 senators and other key actors, including individuals with legal knowledge. Speaking Tuesday at his Capitol building office, the Grand Creek County senator noted that his decision to write the National Elections Commission declaring the seat vacant is in line with the Liberian Constitution. Recently, the Liberian Senate wrote the National Elections Commission declaring Lofa County senatorial seat vacant after the Supreme Court ruled that the ex-defense minister and his deputies serve a 2-year jail sentence in line with the court ruling in 2021. Ex-defense minister Brandon Samokai, since his election in December 2020, has as senator of Lofa County, has been facing legal battle for the mismanagement of AFL funds during the past government. Three Liberian legal practitioners have been fined $200 each by the tax court at the Temple of Justice. Councillor Bushabin Keita, Councillor Nicholas Edward, and Anthony Ebenezer Gibson were fined for refusing to appear in court for a hearing after the sheriff's return revealed that the lawyers were duly served with the notice of assignment for Tuesday's hearing. Vice Court Presiding Judge Usman Fekai's February 22 action further mandated the three lawyers to pay the amount in government revenue within 72 hours or risk being held for contempt. Our judicial correspondent further said that this is not the first time the three lawyers have been absent from court for a hearing regarding the client's case without notice to the court. The 7-man U.S. government congressional delegation visiting Liberia has lauded President George Weah for the progress Liberia has made under his leadership of the country. The head of delegation, New York Democratic Congressman Gregory Meeks, who is also the U.S. House of Representatives Committee Chairman on Foreign Relations, said Liberia is on the right path to recover and develop after years of war. Presenting gifts of honor to President Weah, the U.S. House on Foreign Relations Committee Chairman Meeks also extolled him for his hard work and accomplishment in pushing Liberia forward and in a better direction for the citizenry. Several citizens of Nimba County are reminding the legislature and executive branches of the Liberian government not to turn over the railroad and the port of Buchanan to Asina Meta, Liberia. Speaking in separate statements to Freedom News Tuesday in Monrovia, former Superintendent Doug Cooper disclosed that the accord is not only a call for citizens of Nimba, but for the benefits of the entire country. According to him, any decision to give out the railroad and the port of Buchanan to Asina Meta will cause the Liberian government a huge loss. For his part, Harrison Luo called on the government not to give out the entire mining areas in the county to Asina Meta, but should rather allow other companies to operate in the country to provide competition among operators. Luo further that it is time to allow competition into the mining sector of the country as a way of allowing citizens to benefit from the natural resources. He noted that Asina Meta has failed to live up to its social responsibility to the citizens of Liberia, referencing the lack of housing for employees of the company, safe drinking water, among others, as reasons for his call. Residents of Gay Town community in District 10 have frowned on Monrovia City Mayor Jefferson Koji for what they described as his lack of knowledge to clean Monrovia and its environs. Speaking with Freedom News Tuesday, the aggrieved residents in separate remarks threatened to stage a peaceful protest as a way of calling on the Monrovia City government to remove the stockpile of that garbage that has been overtaking the road leading to Gate Town, Smart Road, and Chuba intersections. The the Gate Town residents lamented that continuous stockpile of diets in communities signify the inability of Major Koji to perform his tasks in ensuring cleanliness in Monrovia. Other residents, however, attributed the stockpile of garbage to limited waste bins at the site, while they called on the mayor to put in place a perfect garbage control mechanism. However, the former chairman of Gaytown Community, Peter Johnson, has appealed to Major Koji and his team to quickly remove the garbage from the site to avoid embarrassment. When contacted, MCC Public Relations Officer Alpha Gray said, in as much as the city of Monrovia faces some challenges, citizens of Monrovia need to help the government in cleaning these cities. And as the chief executive officer of a sanitation company, Chester Adams is calling on the government and other NGOs for support to help improve his company. According to Adams, his company, which is involved in sanitation works, was founded in 2021 to help keep Monrovia clean and green. He said the company is involved with garbage collection, recycling, and water supply, among others. Adams further noted that he is anticipating supporting garbage waste management in and out of Liberia in the nearby future if he is supported. At the same time, Chester Adams added that he is getting some resources from the Korean sanitation company EPA and MCC. In addition, Adams lauded Monrovia City Mayor Jefferson Koji for his continuous financial and moral support towards his sanitation company. Well, on that note, this is how I would like to cross over to Woody Tukba for the continuation of Freedom Evening News Basket.
Follow the story. Thanks very much to Higa Gundad for the Bulletin of News. The Bulletin of News is a regular feature here on the News Basket. A reminder you're listening to Freedom News Basket on Freedom FM 87.9. The top developments we follow in this evening. Good news for inmates at the Monrovia Central Prison as President George Weah is expected to pardon 500 prisoners, suspends 2-year jail sentence of Lofa County Senator-elect Brandon Samka. Supreme Court rules in favor of the Liberian Senate in a legal proceeding between the two ACOS bodies. The lady who attempted selling her 1-year-old baby for 25 US dollars finally free through a bargaining. And elsewhere from Liberia, Tunisians living in Ukraine have urged via national airline Tunisia to arrange an evacuation flight as fear grows of an outbreak of war in the region. We take our first development on the news. President George Weah has issued a proclamation of clemency, ordering the Ministry of Justice to pardon 500 inmates where applicable. In the proclamation, President Weah said those expected to be pardoned include those who committed misdemeanor and capital offenses, while rapists and armed robbers are excluded. The President has also ordered the suspension of the 2-year prison sentence imposed on Lofa County Senator-elect Brandon Samuka. Esther Daku of our staff has the detail from Monrovia.
Former Defense Minister Brandon Samuka will now have all reasons to breathe cool air following Monday's pronouncement by President Weah to suspend his 2-year jail sentence. Samuka and co-defendants were ordered in prison by the Supreme Court of Liberia for 2 years for their failure to comply with the mandate of the court to pay 50% of the judgment sum in the tune of $537,828.15 within 6 months. He had been entangled in legal controversy since his election as senator to vote reach Lofa County. The former defense minister has faced a hurdle in taking his seat as Lofa County Senator after the Supreme Court of Liberia halted his certification by the National Elections Commission. Samukai received the most votes in December 8, 2020 senatorial poll in Lofa County, accumulating 20,431 votes. The nation's highest court decision against Samukai of the collaborating political parties was triggered by a rate of prohibition fine on March 2, 2021 by O'Neill Passaway, chair of the Movement for Progressive Change. Passaway asked the court to hold the certification of Samukai because Samukai was convicted by the Supreme Court for the crime of money laundering. Just recently, the Liberian Senate sent a communication to the National Elections Commission declaring with immediate effect its elected seat vacant on grounds that Mr. Samukai is incapacitated to occupy the seat in Lofa County. The upper house decision was in line with Article 37 of the 1986 Constitution of Liberia, which provides that in the event of a vacancy in the legislature, the presiding officer of the chamber in which the vacancy occurs shall within 30 days after such occurrence notify the National Elections Commission thereof, and the National Elections Commission shall no later than 90 days cause a by-election to be held to fill the vacancy. Will the seat still be declared vacant? That is $1 million question, as President George Weah suspends the 2 years prison sentence for Mr. Samukai. It was a great surprise to many Tuesday when Minister of State for Presidential Affairs Nathaniel McGill, on behalf of President Weah, made a public announcement of suspending Samukai's prison sentence, citing Article 59 of the 1986 Constitution, which vests in him the power and authority to grant reprieves, suspend fines, sentences, and pardon anyone convicted and sentenced for a crime.
I would like to thank the media on behalf of the President, firstly, and the people of Liberia for the support and turn out the show at the celebration of our 200 years opening at the SKD. We want to say to you, the President is very happy that Liberians continue to show support for their country, and as you know, the celebration continues for the whole year. We are here to give you a brief information coming out of the office of the President. I would like the people of Liberia to know this President has always said that the best way to punish a man is to make sure they give a man the opportunity to serve his punishment. And so I'm here to briefly inform you that the President has issued a proclamation on the situation regarding former Minister of Defense, Honorable J. Brownie Samukai. As you are aware, the Supreme Court, the lower court, found Mr. Samukai guilty, mismanaging or theft of the AFL, the soldiers' money, and Mr. Samukai took an appeal to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court upheld the decision of the lower court. The President has always said that he would not interfere in the judicial process, he would not interfere in legislative process, will continue to exercise his constitutional responsibility as is determined by the Constitution. Therefore, in line with the Constitution and pursuant to Article 59 of the Liberian Constitution 1986, which vests power in the President and the authority to grant reprieve, suspend fines, sentences, and pardon anyone convicted and sentenced for a crime has, with immediate effect, order the suspension of the 2-year jail prison sentence imposed on Mr. Brownie J. Samukai, following his conviction by the Honorable Supreme Court of Liberia, with a proviso that Mr. Samukai will work with the Ministry of Justice as of this order to enter into a full stipulation for the full settlement of the armed forces of Liberia soldier money. However, considering that the President knows that the AFL people would not wait for Mr. Samukai to fully pay the money before they receive their money, the President has, with immediate effect, ordered the Minister of Finance and the Minister of Defense to work together in making sure that full payment of the outstanding balances to the AFL money is settled within a week period. As of this order.
Recent plea by some prisoners to President Weah to pardon inmates from the Monrovia Central Prison was one major pronouncement that sparked our celebration at the Central Jail House in Liberia, as 500 inmates are expected to leave that facility. McGill said, in line with Liberia's joyous 200 years celebration, President Weah further directed the Minister of Justice and Attorney General to submit to his office a list of persons to be pardoned during these festive celebrations.
At the same time, the President realizing that as we celebrate our 200 years, which is a remarkable year, the President has ordered the Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the Republic of Liberia to submit to his office a list of 500 persons who are currently in detention who will be pardoned as a way of our national healing process. The President has called on all Liberians to use this 200 years, as it always said, to make up and mend our differences, reconcile our differences, unite for the good of our country.
How have these inmates received their news after 2 years since President Weah went to that prison facility?
We were following the press conference via the radio, and we heard, the analyzing that half the prisoner will be pardoned along with Benny Samuka. So we all got glued to our video radios, and to the minister announced that 500 inmate names should be submitted for pardon. So based on that, we immediately jumped into, Joyo Boo and started dancing and taking drum around, to appreciate the effort. The president has been coming here for 2 years, but the fact that he was able to pronounce or to request the news of 5 years, that's a huge number. That gives us relief. My sister allowed to you, only the president will be on. Apart from God, and the president, some of us will be on the free. So if we didn't see him for 2 years, we felt disappointed, we felt down, our full finish, we will stay here. We tell you how refined some of us are right now. Imagine you run the president for a day with album, the chaos in other countries, but we remain kind, we remain very respectful, and we waited for the time that the administration was able to get money to provide food for us. That tells you that we are not only after food. We have learned. I'm confident that I will be part of this number. I will be part of this number, and I tell you this for free. People that were downhearted, people that felt bad about the president are now jubilating and even pledging more support to the president if this happens. Because the proclamation is one aspect. The implementation is another aspect. So for now, it is the proclamation. We are dancing and happy to the proclamation because we want to come out and tell the country, tell the state that yes, indeed, we committed crime against the state, we committed the crime against prison, we were taken to prison, we learned our lesson the hard way. Some of us are refined and we're now ready to help in society. We want to prove ourselves right. What we got from EOBC, the state-run radio, is that rapists and armed robbers. But for that, the president is a follower. He came, the first day here, he made such a statement that armed robbers and rapists, murderers were not his friends. Well, without that, he came back the following year and free for the some more. All of that for the same when they want an account was 17 last time. I was here for murder. Last time, they were 17 in our normal are free. And I tell you this, my sister, since they're for free, none of them are returned here as recidivists or criminals. They are all outside their service. That tells you that we are refined, we are ready to serve. So what I said, we didn't get that from the press statement, but we are just happy and we're hoping that the implementation, it should be as it is proclaimed. Even if I don't free, when all of people free, that's the sign of my own time will reach. But we extend our thanks and appreciation for the proclamation. We look forward to the implementation.
It is hope of inmates who do not fall within the rapist and armed robbery category to be considered within this executive clemency. From the executive mansions in Monrovia, this is Esther Daku reporting.
She's our executive mansion bureau chief. That's Esther Daku reporting from the presidency. The Supreme Court of Liberia has ruled in favor of the Liberian Senate in a case between that ACA's body and the House of Representatives, seeking to provide clarity on Article 34D(I) of the 1986 Constitution for ratification of the Bao-Chi Code Mineral Development Agreement. It can be recalled that the Liberian Senate, upon passage of the Bao-Chi Code Concession Agreement bill sent to the legislature by President George Weah for ratification, was forwarded to the House of Representatives for concurrence and action. The lower house said was illegal. According to the House of Representatives, the Senate is not charged with the constitutional duty to pass on revenue bills, citing Article 34D(I) of the Liberian Constitution as the reliance. Article 34D of the Liberian Constitution states that all revenues, bills, whether subsidies, charges, imports, and other financial bills shall originate in the House of Representatives, but the Senate may thus propose or concord with amendment as unordered. But the Supreme Court, in its ruling read by the Secretary of the Senate, Nangbalo Sengbe, Tuesday, indicated that said bill is a financial bill and not a revenue bill, has been contested by members of the House of Representatives. We get back to that development later on. Senate Pro Tem Albert Che has refuted speculation that the decision to declare Lofa County's The senatorial seat was a decision by him as an individual, according to Pro Tem Chair. Prior to the decision to declare the Lofa County seat vacant, there were a series of consultations with over 20 senators and other key actors, including individuals with legal knowledge. Here is Senate Pro Tem Abuchi.
The president just of all the things he just suspended, not even dismissed, just suspended 2 years sentence. So the legal constraints are still there from my reading. 100%, not even 99, because by the elections of 2020 December, the seats were vacant. Right? All of us know. 2020 elections, the seats were vacant before that election day. But by that election were vacant. Then by the election of Lofa 2, there was no more vacant. It was incumbent. We were here over and over. We asked the question, are you concerned? Over and over all the press conferences. I said when the matter is in court, now the court has ruled. It's not an issue whether you are taking seat or not. It's the seat. When you run NEC, we need to NEC to have elections. It's one of the constitutions our duty to inform NEC of a vacancy. We just to NEC of vacancy exists. Period. And that's our responsibility. 100%. No, it's me. All the declarations are be done by me.
All right, some of your colleagues who were in section on that day raised concern and saying that they were informed about the decision that the Senate took. And looking at the decision now, considering it now from the look of things, it will stand. And so how was the decision reached? Was it something that was done only by the Pro Tem unilaterally, or it involved other members of the Senate?
I think you have read the Constitution. It says presiding officer. And the point is, it's not the first time since I've become vacant. Since I've been Pro Tem, probably like the fifth or fourth. And I followed the same procedure over and over. Nevertheless, because of the situation, the complexity, I consulted widely, both within and without. We had a discussion, consulted more than 22 senators who agreed. That was climaxed by our leadership meeting. It was deliberated and I agreed. We consulted counsel within and outside. So the consultation was, you can say, perfect.
He is Senate Pro Tem Abo Tupechi Vert speaking on Tuesday at the Capitol in Monrovia. This news broadcast come to you from Freedom FM, the radio service of the Freedom Communications Incorporated. We broadcast between the intersection of Clay and Carey Street in Monrovia. Well, it's some minutes past the half-hour mark. We now go over to our sports decks where Jerome Morris is seated to bring us these sporting developments.
16 of the Petrol Trade Cup, with only 8 advancing to the next stage. Wednesday, Petrol Trade Cup fixture will see Moscow FC facing Parks FC at the SKT practice pitch at 2 p.m. Tony FC will welcome Punk Rangers in Kakata, Magibi County. At the Tusa Field in Catonsville, B Mountain will also have 11. Nimakwado versus LPRC orders in San Quentin City. Watanga FC will hustle Nima FC at the SKT practice page at 4 o'clock p.m. Monrovia Club Brewers will face MPL Anchors in Kakata, Makibu County. Let's FC versus Kanta Almighty at the Tusa Field at 4 o'clock. While at the North Star Stadium, Nima United will hustle Invincible 11. Liberian international midfielder Mohamed Sangari made his return from a long-term injury and was in action for Newcastle Under 23 in their 6-1 loss to Fulham Under 23 on Monday. Sangari has been out with injury since November 2020, but was able to have some minutes under his belt at Whitney Park. Sangari started the match for Newcastle Under 23 and played up to 46 minutes before being substituted. Newcastle United Under 23, however, has been dropped out of the Premier League 2 playoff spots. And away from home, Zambia has reached the 2022 Women's African Cup of Nations after a 1-1 draw against Namibia, secured their qualification on away goals. And that's it for sports.
Jerome Morris and the sporting development that on the news program. A reminder, you're listening to Freedom News Basket. It's a 45-minute news presentation about happenings in Liberia and elsewhere. We take more developments on the news program. Residents of Gay Town community in District 10 according on President George Weah to dismiss Monrovia City Mayor Jefferson Koji for what described as his lack of knowledge to claim Monrovia and its environs. Speaking with Freedom News Tuesday, the aggrieved residents in separate remarks threatened to stage a peaceful protest as a way of calling on the Monrovia City government attention to remove stockpile of garbage that has overtaken the road leading to Gaytown, Smart Road, and Tubord intersection. They see this as a lack of ability of the mayor, that's Mayor Koji, to perform his tasks in ensuring cleanliness in Monrovia. As such, they want him replaced.
Jefferson quoting in that power. It disturb the people public because they deck here. If you continue to do that, will not satisfy. It will be a problem. Definitely look at what they buy our here. That was what to do. Settle for JJ Robert out to now. He never happy. Besides open time. Let's get a poor respect. You move Jefferson quoting. You know your position. I talk it. You know their community do a lot. When the government, I will say what the government do. Government get power to tell anybody can do the one, he can't do it. So government not strong. Government get everybody freedom and do bad in the country. Look at the smoke. That one can affect anybody, any citizen. So Jefferson County, you don't know your position. Let you take it from there, put somebody there. I don't know how the youth doing. I don't know the Arab community doing their different number 10. You got to start that. You must go put in the ministry. Okay.
However, the chairman of Gaytown Community, Peter Johnson, has appealed through Mayor Koji and his team to quickly remove the garbage from the site to avoid future embarrassment.
And actually, let me be frank. The reason why you see people putting fire to the dike is because when they leave it, they fly. You can't live in this community. And they call a serious hazard. It be a malaria, it be whatsoever, people will always catch hard time. So we calling on MCC, Jefferson Coaching in person as a state major to please come to our aid in this community. Even at the time we had a level, something standing here, it got burned. The LEC people got to come and change and divide the level on the other side. They got to take the burn one from there. That would have caused a serious problem. So we're calling on Jefferson Coaching to come and help us, please.
When contacted, the MCC Public Relations Officer Alpha Grade said, as much as the city of Monrovia faces some challenges, citizens of Monrovia need to help government clean the city. He also said, despite MCC wanting to help the communities in ensuring the cleanliness of Monrovia, they usually collect the dirt from various garbage sites in the city.
Thomas Kojo, you are aware that we have been working over the period of time even before our Memorial Day celebration. And it's part of our fundamental responsibilities as city government, not only during the national holiday, but also to ensure that the city of Monrovia is clean for every resident and citizen who finds himself or herself in the confines and bailiwick of the city. So the city government has people already in the city carrying on cleanup exercise. We clear up water plant some time ago ahead of the Memorial Day celebration. We also clear up Central Street. But unfortunately, you have some citizens who in the habit of disposing garbage to the various sites once the city government has already cleared.
He's the Public Relations Officer of the Monrovia City Corporation, Alpha Gray. Earlier, you listened to the former chairman of Gaytown Community speaking, as well as residents there calling on government or President Josh Weah to take action against Monrovia City Mayor Jefferson Koji. Several citizens of Nimba County are reminding the legislative and executive branches of government not to turn over the railroads and the port of Buchanan to Aslamita Liberia. Speaking in separate statement with Film News Tuesday, Monrovia former Superintendent Doc Corpo disclosed that the accord is not only a call for citizens of Nimba, but for the benefit of the country at large. According to him, and a decision to give out the railroad and the ports of Buchanan to ArcelorMittal will cause government a huge loss.
The
push we are making as citizens of Nimba is not intended to benefit only Nimba. No. And that's why we're making an appeal to our lawmakers from across Liberia. We are making this case for and on behalf of the Liberian people. The reason why you're hearing Nimbayans predominantly pushing the agenda is we are in the operational area. So we feel the immediate impact. And so those away, far away from the county, we have to tell them what is happening around the mining site because we are there. So if you hear us talking, for instance, we're talking about the rail. The railroad should not be given to ArcelorMittal exclusively. You think it is intended that the fund that will be generated from the rail will be given to the people of Nimba County? No. Whatever that will be generated from the rail will be given to the government library, will be put into the national government's account. So it's now a push to benefit Nimbayans. And so other lawmakers from other counties should not feel that our push is intended that Nimba County want everything. No, we are pushing for all of us. Like for instance, you talk about Bikana, Bikana is in Nimba, Bikana is not in Nimba, Bikana is in Grand Bassa, right? And we are saying
His Nimba County Superintendent Doc Cooper. The Chief Executive Officer of the sanitation company, Chester Adams, is calling on the government and other non-government organizations for support to help improve his company. According to Adams, his company, which is involved in sanitation works, was founded in 2021 to help keep Monrovia clean and green. Adams further noted that he is anticipating supporting garbage waste management in and out of Liberia in the nearby future if he received the needed support.
My name is Chester Adams, the CEO of Chesvita Sanitation Company, 100% Liberian-owned business within the country. The company is a sanitation company. We actually involved into water delivery and other stuff. So the company is Chesvita Sanitation Company. We were founded last year, December the 5th. So we are being into garbage collection, recycling, and water delivery over a period of time. Anticipating for our company to be the other sanitation company so that we can not only give support in Liberia, but we can work outside Liberia where we can compare with other big companies. Like we have our partner from Korea, here not too long, and we have partner from MCC, where I serve as volunteer worker, and from EP and other stuff. Have partner company within Liberia, but we have partner.
Chester Adams is the Chief Executive Officer of a sanitation company that is non-governmental. They're speaking with our reporter in Monrovia. What at this juncture we rejoin Haga Ganda for the foreign development.
Tunisians living in Ukraine have urged their national airline, Tunisia's, to arrange an evacuation flight as far as fears grow of an outbreak of war in the region. The head of the Association of the Tunisian Community in Ukraine, Taris Alokwi, said that Tunisians have been struggling to leave Ukraine due to international airlines canceling flights. Mr. Alokwe told Tunisia State News Agency that anxiety had heightening within the community following Russia's announcement to recognize Donetsk and Luhansk as independent states. Mr. Oleng said there were about 1,500 Tunisian nationals in Ukraine, including some 500 students. Many of them resides in Dnipro and Kharkiv near the Russian border, he said. Well, Willie is back to you for the conclusion of the news program.
Well, with the foreign development, this is how we like to wrap up on this evening edition of Freedom News Basket. It being a 45-minute news presentation about happenings in Liberia and elsewhere. Just before we leave you, these are the main stories we've been following. Good news for inmates at the Monrovia Central Prison as President George Weah is expected to pardon 500 prisoners, suspends 2-year jail sentence of Lofa County Senator-elect Brandon Samuka. Supreme Court rules in favor of the Liberian Senate in a legal proceeding between the two ox bodies. The lady who attempted selling her 1-year-old baby for $25 found free through it bargaining. Elsewhere from Liberia, Tunisians living in Ukraine have urged the national airline Tunisia to arrange an evacuation flight as fears grow of an outbreak of war in that region. We'd like to say thanks to all of our reporters, editors, and contributors across Liberia for making this edition of Freedom News a reality. For more developments on Freedom News, you can log to www.freedomnewsonline.com, or you can join us on our Facebook. That's a Facebook page. Join us tomorrow morning for a fresh edition of the news program. On behalf of the entire news team, I've been your presenter with it took by many thanks to Marvey Dakwe who sat at control and coordinated this time. Roland Dolu as well as Dwakuzo John the Corporal that's coordinated the camera. Good evening from Monrovia.